Hey there, TJ here, and welcome to Yeah The Dees, where I'm going through our round 23 win against Hawthorn at the MCG on Sunday, the 20th of August, 2023. Solid 27-point win by the Dees, although Hawthorn, probably made a few people get a bit worried in that first quarter, getting the first couple of goals on the board. But we went through to get the job done. No giant killing for Hawthorn today. They'd been on a bit of a tear, beating the Bulldogs and Collingwood, who are, definitely having better seasons than they are. Although, geez, the Bulldogs are falling apart, aren't they? Really, really warm out in the sun too, which was fantastic. Good to get a bit of sunshine whilst watching the footy and celebrate two of our premiership players, Alex Neil-Bullen with his 150th game and Max Gawn with his 200th. He's finally gotten there, and he's finally cracked to the 100 wins in his career with this one. Gawn's now got 100 wins, 1 draw and 99 losses in his career with us at the Dees. And these two players, they're absolute leaders at our football club and should be celebrated. In true Neil-Bullen style, he gets overshadowed by the captain, but he just puts his head down and gets to work. And Neil-Bullen didn't play a really, really great game. Replay was a bit of fun to watch. We actually had a fairly decent commentary team. Jason Bennett, Tim Watson, Daisy Pearce, and Luke Darcy's not too bad. So enjoyed rewatching that one and having a bit of a closer look at a few players' games who I thought maybe didn't do too well, but actually were not too bad at all. So let's get cracking into this game. So I felt like the Hawks got lucky here with a couple of goals early. Jake Melksham had a couple of chances on goal, but unfortunately couldn't make the most of those ones. Took him a few opportunities before he actually got on the board. They just capitalised on a few mistakes to take the lead, which never got out further than 12 points. Brayshaw's first goal here was just an absolute beauty. That's his first goal for us for the year, which I was surprised to see. He was kicking a fefew more goals last, and it was an absolute ripper. Jacob Van Rooyen got his first goal for the day soon after that, after a very, just a silly sort of push out after the mark to give away a 50-metre penalty there. Very silly of us not to be able to lock that up that last little minute and give Henry Hustwaite his first goal in AFL footy, who was a late change for Jai Newcomb. Had a bit of push and shove between Oliver and Finn Maginness after the first quarter. Good that he did it at that stage, because you can't really give away a penalty at that point. Really didn't like the treatment he was getting from him. He was only held to 2 disposals in that quarter. Christian Petrarca barely touched it in that quarter as well. So we kicked 3-2-20 to 4-2-26. Hawks take the lead by 6 points just with that last goal. With Oliver and Petrarca barely touching the ball, only 6 points down. Not too bad, wasn't too worried. Get into the second quarter, started off pretty well. Jake Melksham with another attempt, unfortunately going through for a behind. Cade Chandler getting the first goal of the quarter off the board. And then Petrarca and Melksham kick behinds as well. And then Jakey Melksham kicks a goal with the hardest attempt out of all of them. It took him 5 goes, but he got there, and that was an absolute ripper goal. He was absolutely fantastic on James Sicily, really did a number on him. Finally got reward with that goal, and then got his second later in the game after Bill Laurie, I think it's his second game for the year or third, had an absolute ripper kick to him to put it on his chest from the 50-metre line right on the boundary. It was absolutely ridiculous kick, and it's just, I really like seeing these fine foot skills come through from the players that we've been picking up. Tajwa Woden's the same, really, really nice foot skills, and I feel like that's what the team's missing a little bit, is some fine foot skills, just laying it out on our forwards' chests. Because in this first half, I was watching our forwards and they were just not moving, really making it hard to create space for them and just having the ball dumped in on their heads. It's just not the best forward craft, really. In this period here as well, like Jack Viney running out of bounds with the ball and being called holding the ball, like that was just absolutely ridiculous and ludicrous. I could not believe that at all. The umpire who was right there couldn't see it. I could see from the punt road and second level that he was quite clearly out and was just blown away by some of this really, really bad umpiring. By the end of this quarter, we had gotten the game a bit more back to a Melbourne game. We'd kicked 3-3-21 to the Hawks 2-1-13. The Hawks had this little run of a minute where they just kicked 2 goals quickly. That was really the only part. Had any momentum for that quarter, really. We really started to control the ball and make it difficult for Hawthorn to get around. As I said before, Sicily having a really, really hard time. And in the third quarter, he got moved up the ground because Melksham was doing such a good job. By the time we get into this third quarter, more establishing our dominance and really wearing them out, the Hawks are just starting to switch it back and forth, trying to find openings. And when you switch that much throughout a game, Like, yeah, you're creating lots of uncontested disposals and marks and controlling the ball and trying to open things up, but you're doing so much running against a side that's known for running that you're just going to tire out, and that's really what we saw towards the end of that last quarter. In the last quarter, we saw that Hawks really just couldn't keep with us. Our game plan just grinded them away. We play physical, we hold our shape and make it really difficult for them to cut through us. It was really on show more in this second half. Would have been a lot nicer if we were leading for the whole game. Yeah, Joel Smith's goal kicking, absolutely elite. To be able to put that one through on that angle was absolutely brilliant. Makes the most of his opportunities when the ball comes to him, but there's just a lot of times where the ball just doesn't. Tom Sparrow's goal here, absolute ripper. Good stuff from him. Yeah, he played a really, really solid game. So yeah, leading by 2 going into half time after Jake Melksham's second goal towards the end of that quarter. And then going into this last quarter, 13 points up after kicking 4 goals, 24 to 2-2-14. And then we give up this goal just from 2 really small mistakes. Gawn had the ball, came out of his hands and got picked up. And then there was just a knock on in the back line, which made it easy for Dylan Mohr to put that one through. And they just capitalised on 2 very small mistakes where the ball came out into their favour and got on that. But then the Hawks don't score again for this last quarter, and that's what I'm really impressed with. In a game where, Oliver only had a handful of disposals up until that last quarter. Finn Maginness gets moved to Trent Rivers because of the impact he was having. Oliver then gets another 8 disposals for the last quarter. They barely had any chances in that last as well, only getting a handful of inside 50s, which pretty much all ended up in Jake Lever's hands. I was really, really impressed with this last quarter, the way that we just held them and controlled the time in forward half. There was a handball from Oliver where he picked up the ground ball and hand passed it all in one motion, and that just shows how fast he is. He has the fastest hands in the AFL. With 15 minutes to go, Shaki gets subbed in for Tomlinson and Joel Smith goes back. He didn't have too much to do because the ball just didn't go down there too much. Shaki was able to take a couple of ruck contests but didn't really get a chance to show off too much. Gawn absolutely bombed 1 from 50, which just didn't really get too close to the goal, so that made me laugh a little bit. Jacob Van Rooyen took the mark of the game. Cozzy went up for it as well, but he took a great mark. So getting 3 goals for Van Rooyen, I was really, really happy with. That's a really great return for his effort in a game. We kicked 3-3-21 to 1-1-7 in that quarter, won the quarter by 14 and the game by 27. So we completed a 39-point turnaround from when Hawthorn had their biggest lead in that first quarter. And yeah, I'm happy with that, getting the 4 points on the board. A Hawthorn team that, has been fairly plucky. They're up and about. They're doing some different things. Sam Mitchell is a great coach. And, Finn Maginness is in some great form in negating the midfielder because he's that type of tagger that doesn't look for the ball, as Simon Goodwin said in his press conference. But that's just the type of player he is. I didn't really see that as a swipe or awful or anything like that. That's just is what it is. Things that really worried me for the game was just the movement in our forward line. There's just not a lot of forward craft in terms of creating leading patterns and leading lanes, and we're just high kicking it to contests, and then we're not really having crummers in the right positions. So that's mainly my worry there. I felt like our defense was really good, and we gave a lot of players different chances through the middle to play there. Like Max Gawn obviously dominated the ruck. He had 23 centre bounce attendances. Jack Viney was in there the most with 19, but Clayton Oliver, Angus Brayshaw were the next 2 closest on 16. Tom Sparrow had more centre bounce attendances than Christian Petrarca for the day. He had 13 compared to Christian's 11. Cozzy was in there 3 times as well as JVR for a couple of ruck contests. In terms of pressure for the game, it was a drop down from our previous week against Carlton. We went at 180, which is AFL standard and average, but the Hawks really dropped off to 163 compared to the Blues the week before that were up around 200. Their best quarter, the Hawks, was the first quarter at 173, and that was the only quarter that they technically beat us in. Our pressure was up around the mark, all with Jack Viney topping that out, and Tom Sparrow and Clayton Oliver and Kay Chandler and Cozzy Pickett very closely following. Basically, in that second half, we were like 70% time in forward half. Gave away 2 centre bounce goals to Hawthorn, which is a bit crap. We got 1 centre bounce goal ourselves. We also made 17 points from stoppage. We kicked 2 goals 5, so that could have been better if we kicked a bit straighter, but we won the turnover game, kicking 58 points to 23, and that's really where we want to win games. It is a turnover game, the AFL. From set shots, we kicked 6 goals 4, and from general play, kicked 7 goals 4. So that's not too bad. So looking pretty good for stats. In terms of the coaches' votes get held out the last 2 weeks of the year and get announced at the end. So when they get released, I'll put them into the description below. So let's get stuck into my votes for this game. Gave 1 vote to Alex Neil-Bullen. He won critical contest, just ran and ran all day. It was the kind of game that reminds you exactly how good he is. Gave 2 votes to Tom Sparrow, who won all the tough stuff, 94% disposal efficiency and kicked 1 goal 1. Gave 3 votes to Jake Melksham, who killed Sicily all day. Absolutely could have had a bag of goals. He was an absolute handful. Would have been further up in the votes if he had converted better, but he sits here with 3 votes for the day. Gave 4 votes to Jake Lever, who was an absolute rock in defence, clean with disposal. An absolute reminder of just how good he is. Jack Viney gets the 5 votes. He did all the tough stuff when Oliver and Petrarca couldn't get a hand on the ball. He had heaps of tackles. He had 7 for the game. Just more handballs than kicks, so that's why I had to go and give the 6 votes to Trent Rivers, who had 27 disposals, 21 of them being kicks, and was our most consistent contributor. Absolutely clean by foot and forced Finn Maginness to go to him late in the game. So that gives us our leaderboard here, where Trent Rivers has actually rocketed up into the top 3. Onto the VFL now, an absolute heartbreak in the end for Casey, losing by 2 points, but they had their chances. Absolutely had their chances. Let's just scroll this up a bit so you guys can see the worm. We were in front pretty much the whole game. Brisbane didn't get in front until the 3rd quarter. They got in the lead, and then we got a couple in a row just to extend that back out, but then they came back and got back in front and kind of just sort of held that 1 to 2 point lead across that last quarter. So yeah, huge shame for us not being able to get the win. We had plenty of chances going into that forward line late in that quarter and just couldn't clunk a mark. We'd keep giving away free kicks, put it out of bounds, all that sort of stuff. So that is very disappointing because it means that we didn't lock away a top final spot, and we're now in the wild card play-in this weekend. Luke Dunstan on fire again with 31 disposals. Charlie Spargo kicked 1 goal 1 and had 25. Tajwo Woden, after re-signing for 2 years, got 1 goal and 21 disposals. He's just looking really, really nice. Michael Hibbard was really our only name in defence. Picked up 17 disposals. Tom McDonald looking a bit better this week. He had 14 disposals, kicked 3 goals, had 12 kicks, 2 handballs, 5 marks, 3 tackles. Was getting up and down the ground, looking pretty okay. Brodie Grundy pretty much just played in the ruck. Did not look like he was training as a forward at all. 36 hit-outs for him and 12 disposals. Ziggy Toledo, not sure where he came from, but yeah, he kicked 2 goals, 1 for the day and was pretty lively as well. He's not on the Melbourne list, but might be worth having a look at. So here we are with the ladder with 1 round to go. We could finish second if all results go our way, which I highly doubt. We're the last game to play for the weekend, so we'll know exactly what the lay of the land will be by the time we get towards the 4th quarter of that day. I don't see Port Adelaide losing to Richmond. I don't think Richmond will be putting in too much effort after having that game against North Melbourne. Brisbane against St Kilda. Look, St Kilda played very well over the weekend, but Brisbane up in Brisbane is a very, very difficult task, and I really do not see Collingwood losing to Essendon. That were absolute witches' hats against the Giants on the weekend, but that was very, very entertaining to watch Jesse Hogan kick 9 and Toby Bedford get a few as well. I think this is pretty much how it's going to sit. GWS have a tough game against Carlton to stay in, but so do the Bulldogs against Geelong and Essendon against Collingwood to try and jump in. Like, all 3 of those teams will probably lose. We've got Sydney this weekend, and if they don't have McCartan playing, that'll be very hard for them up against us. We played them earlier in the year with their full team in, and now coming into this round, looks like they're not going to have either of the McCartans because one's retired and the other one's probably going to get suspended. And I think Papley might be rested with his hamstring strain. Even though we're at the SCG, that puts us in a pretty good position to still just go out there and get the win. We do have that higher percentage than Port Adelaide, so if they did happen to lose a game to Richmond, we might pop into that 3rd spot and have to play Brisbane. Would really like to play in Melbourne round 1 of the finals and possibly play Collingwood. They seem to be having a pretty bad run coming into the final series, dropping 3 out of their last 4. So if we can get them in round 1 of the finals, we can set us up for a prelim and a home prelim, which would be ideal. Adelaide, I feel sorry for Adelaide getting screwed, especially after we got screwed the week before against Carlton. Really, really awful what happened to them with that obvious goal being called a behind hitting the post. It looks like the Sydney player slapped the padding as he went through, and that's what the goal umpire heard. Have to sit here and hope that there will be no more umpiring mistakes for the rest of the year. But yeah, leave your thoughts in the comments below. How you feeling about finals coming up? I feel like we're in a really good position to go at it. Whilst Fritsch is hopefully back this week. which would be absolutely amazing just to give us that extra option up forward. Our forward line will look extra dangerous with Bailey Fritsch back in there, so I'm super excited. Anyway, that's been this week's episode of Yeah The Dees. Thank you very much for watching. Please like and subscribe and leave your thoughts in the comments below. Cheers. See you next week. Bye.
Petrarca! Oh wow! How good is that?
Sparrow to make it a 3-goal, 3-quarter night lead. He's got it!
Surely not another one. Handball to Oliver, streaming through. Bang! Bang, bang, bang!
Melbourne are the premiers for 2021!
And it's just so special for such our club, mate, our club.
Lastly, after 57 years of pain, it's coming home.